Daniel Andrews, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Neil.
Have you talked to the Prime Minister yet?
Yeah, I spoke to the Prime Minister just about half an hour ago, and we had a discussion about some important matters. He invited me to break my commitment to the Victorian people around East-West Link, and I indicated to him in a very respectful way that I would not be doing that. Then we talked about other infrastructure opportunities and the need for our officers and our officials to talk about those things. And then we had a very positive discussion about working together and about meeting in person at his earliest convenience when he's next in Melbourne, I hope, to talk about those issues. He wants to be an infrastructure Prime Minister. I want to be a Premier that's about outcomes and delivering on all the commitments I've made. I think there is some common ground there.
Is there room to move then with the $3 billion? Is there room to move if it doesn't go to East-West, perhaps it goes to the West Link?
Well, it is my hope, and I made this point very clearly to Mr Abbott this morning, he wants to be an infrastructure Prime Minister. He wants to build things. Well, I've got lots of things to build. So I know a lot of people will think that this relationship can't work, that a Liberal Prime Minister and a Labor Premier can't work together. Well, I aim to confound that, and I will.
Is Western Link on the table?
Well, we have the Westgate distributor, which is about getting thousands of trucks off the Westgate, widening the bridge, widening the freeway, I should say, on approach to the bridge between the Ring Road and Williamstown Road. This direct link in and out of the port is good policy. It's shovel-ready. It'll be out to the market in January.
Tony Abbott has said that the money is only there if it's the East-West Link.
Well, having had a very productive discussion with the Prime Minister this morning, I don't want to then playing politics with this, but nor would I provide the Prime Minister with advice. But I might just say this, Neil. I think it would be unwise if a federal government, having cut health and education, then decided that the best thing for Victoria was to cut infrastructure funding. I don't think the people of this great state would warm to that. What's good for Victoria, that's what I'll be driving. And I do genuinely hope, Neil, and I'm quite confident that the Prime Minister will see this election. Last week he said it. This election is a referendum on the East-West Link. Now,
I know you're not sworn in yet, so this might be a little premature, but have you seen any of the documents yet on the East-West Link that you're going to release?
I sought advice, had a very detailed discussion about the full public release of the business case, the contract and the so-called side deal. They will be released. There is no question at all.
Do you know what's in them now?
Well, I don't think any Victorian has great clarity.
No, but on the brief...
Well, I have some advice.
Have you? But were you surprised?
I have some advice, and I don't want to get into sort of ruling things in and out and all that. I made a commitment, and I sought a mandate, and I think I'm entitled to say that we received that mandate on Saturday for the end to the secrecy around this project. It's botched, it's rushed, it has been all too secret. All of those documents, every single one of them, will be out there in the public domain.
Is there any chance you can look at those documents and say, oh, well, look, it could work, it could be a good idea, we'll go ahead with it?
I've made a commitment to the people of Victoria, and I've outlined an alternative, positive, optimistic vision and plan. We have different priorities. Those level crossings have got to go, Neil. Better local roads and better public transport.
If compensation is payable, that's a problem.
I'm very, very positive about and optimistic about sitting down with the winning bidders. They build things, Neil. I've got plenty of things to build. And I think that we can have an adult, a mature, a methodical discussion about our priorities, about the mandate we have, and work with them. I think that's the best leadership that can be offered, and that's the approach that I'll take.
Do you think you could have some problems immediately with the judiciary? They didn't like the breath testing, and Ken Lay didn't like cage fighting, and I don't think he liked either side's police policy all that much.
I've got the highest regard for Ken Lay.
You want him to stay on?
Absolutely.
So is the cage fighting written in stone?
The best advice says that to have mixed martial arts, or UFC, or there's a number of other ways in which it's described, in a conventional boxing ring, poses a risk to those who are involved and poses a risk to those who go and watch. The best advice needs to be followed.
But your Chief Commissioner strongly disagrees.
Well, the Chief Commissioner has a view, and I respect the Chief Commissioner, but we had an election on Saturday, and we were very clear about our policy, and we will make sure that the most appropriate physical space will be available for use and lawful. That is the appropriate thing to do.
Medical cannabis, what happens now?
That's going to go off to the Victorian Law Reform Commission. We're going to get the best of advice, and I'm going to drag this law into the 21st century.